The Word of God is serious. Can you say amen? You don't play with it. You don't mock it. You don't reject it. You don't manipulate it. You obey it.
This is Dr. Jonathan Hansen, President of World Ministries International. Once again, I want to welcome you to the Warning Television program. We're on radio, we're on television, we're on shortwave. We're doing everything we can to get the gospel of Jesus Christ throughout America and around the world. My goal is to reach 2 billion people through the mass media every week. I need your help to do it. Truth takes away deception. Prayer brings conviction. We're in a fight for the survival of the Republic of the United States of America. I hope you understand that. If you watch this warning program, you know that we constantly bring on leaders, whether they're senators, House of Representatives, attorneys, lawmen, church leaders, others, even leaders from other nations, warning what is happening in America and around the world. Eschatology is about ready to totally come to pass. We're in a struggle for our freedom. Christians are going to be persecuted. The Bible talks about and warns actually about even 2 billion people around the world dying. I have with me 2 special guests. One is Dr. Andy NAZARIO. He served in the United States Navy, then after college accepted a commission in the United States Army Reserve, where he obtained the rank of captain. He also served with the Lubbock Police Department in Lubbock, Texas as a detective for 5 years. Another 5 years he was with the Lubbock Criminal District Attorney's Office, serving as a felony investigator. He also was with the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department, that's New Mexico, retired after 20 years as a lieutenant with the rank of captain, currently an assistant professor at Eastern New Mexico University teaching criminal justice. He attended the FBI National Academy, has a BS in education, an MA in public administration, a PhD in business and criminal justice. He's married with 2 children. I also have with me Attorney Stephen Pidgeon. Attorney Pidgeon is no stranger. If you watch this program, he is recently run for Attorney General for the state of Washington. Because again, law, if we don't uphold the law in America, which created the United States of America to prosper, because it came from the Bible, came from God. But they're trying to do away with that law, eradicate that law, change it, nullify it. They call it a living, breathing constitution where they totally create new laws, man-made, humanistic, evolutionary laws, religious laws. But they nullify the Word of God, the laws of God that has made this a republic. We are in a situation in America today that I believe we are in political corruption. We have leaders on both sides of the aisle, Democrat and Republican. I'll use the word guilty of outright treason, even though it's not politically correct. They make an oath to protect the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, but yet they are totally supporting the New World Order, laws to create us a one-world government, laws that go totally against your freedom, your sovereignty, and mine, putting you under the United Nations international law. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in desperate trouble because the church has totally stepped out of the battle. We used to be the politicians, church leaders. But instead, the last 50 years, we have stepped out of the battle. And the Bible said, if you're not salt, you're good for nothing but the dunghill. In other words, if the church doesn't lead, evil men lead you. And that's what's happening in the United States of America today. I just want to read a few headline news articles, and we're going to get to our special guest. Although, here's a magazine, Time Magazine, April 23, 2012, the picture of the world's most exclusive club, the Secret Society of Presidents. And you can see President Clinton, President Obama, and President George Bush walking again together. Isn't that cozy? New American Magazine, Christian Massacres, a result of U.S. foreign policy, April 23, 2012. Here's another article. It says, Hillary Clinton superdelegate assassinated. Gunman later killed by police, but that's not all. Now superdelegate Stephanie Tubbs Jones is found brain dead. April 14, 2008. Hollywood producer heard Bill Clinton say Obama ineligible. WorldNet Daily by Jerome Corsi. Is Gatney murder part of Obama body count? Washington, D.C. This afternoon, Arkansas Democrat Party Chairman Bill Gatney fell victim to what was evidently a political assassination. Wow. Feds label Liberty lovers terrorist again. WorldNet Daily, July 2, 2012. Now, you could read all these articles on my website. We have a running newspaper. If you really want to see the cutting-edge news, if you want to see the truth, you must go to independent news. The major news networks, agencies are bought off by the world elite, and they're brainwashing the world and America into accepting a new world order. They're not speaking the truth any longer. They're not the protectors of America. This says, the report also defines a potential terrorist those who want to forcibly insert religion into the political sphere and are opposed to abortion. So if you're opposed to abortion, are you an enemy of the state? This article says you are. This is not the first time a government report has listed conservative groups, such as evangelical Christians and Tea Party members, as potential terrorists. WND has reported on how the DHS has previously issued another report listing returning veterans and Christians who believe in end-time prophecies as potentially dangerous right-wing extremists. A report issued by the Missouri Information and Analysis Center warned law enforcement agencies to watch for individuals with bumper stickers for third-party political candidates, including Ron Paul, Bob Baer, Chuck Baldwin. It also identified those opposing illegal immigration, abortion, federal taxes as possibly harboring radical ideologies. You know, it's amazing. I did not hear anything about the Muslim Brotherhood. Here's another Washington Times editorial, Destroy All Churches. That's reported on March 16, 2012 by the Washington Times. Obama silent why Saudi Grand Mufti targets Christianity. Come on, President Obama. Can you imagine if a church leader, the Pope, said destroy all mosques? Listen to this. The Grand Mufti targets Christianity. Destroy all churches. Wall builders, America's most biblically hostile U.S. president. I wonder who that could be. U.S. family jailed for Holder's gun crimes. Fast and Furious, 5 charged in Agent Brian Terry's death, but not a single government official. In fact, Obama still denies knowing anything about it, and my goodness, what about our Attorney General? Does he know anything? Well, I have a man in law enforcement, Andy NAZARIO, Dr. Andy NAZARIO, again, 20 years as lieutenant with the Sheriff's Department in New Mexico. Also Attorney Stephen Pidgeon, running for Attorney General in the state of Washington. We're in desperate trouble. I believe the sovereignty of the United States of America is in the balance. This election is critical. Church, if you don't do something, I believe it's all over. Dr. Andy NAZARIO, welcome to the program Warning.
Thank you, Dr. Hansen.
Attorney Pidgeon, welcome back.
Thank you, Dr. Hansen.
Attorney Pidgeon, you heard as I read some of this. Shall we start with Fast and Furious?
It's an outrage. Fast and Furious is an outrage. American tax dollars were used to purchase thousands of weapons. Those weapons were then placed in specific gun shops where confidential informants employed by the FBI used tax dollars to purchase them from the gun store owner and then delivered the guns to the Zeta drug lords in Mexico. The guns were then used to kill federal officers in the United States. Some of those guns that were sold included 34 50 caliber sniper rifles, in addition to automatic weapons, 5.7s, AK-47s, etc. Not just a few guns, sufficient to do a sting operation. Thousands of guns. And a few ATF agents became whistleblowers and went public, particularly on the item that the Justice Department had put out an email saying the reason they wanted to do this was in order to create a backlash in the American media against gun violence. That's why they did it.
Dr. NAZARIO, or I could say Captain NAZARIO. Again, you attended the FBI National Academy. You've been trained in terrorism. Is it conceivable that Attorney General Eric Holder, is it conceivable that he knew nothing about this?
One could say it's conceivable, but I don't see how it's possible. Vicarious liability carries up to the top, even to the top office. When something like this happens, an officer, a fellow officer, loses his life, gives his life in his service, normally we would stop at no end to bring justice, but yet it's not happened.
How could this type of operation continue or even originate under his watch? How could it happen?
Well, originally this started under Bush with trying to take guns away from the public. He didn't actually deliver guns to the foreign cartels to use them. Obama took that stopped under Bush. But his premise was, and it goes back to the United Nations where it wanted to control handguns in the world, and we were going to sign on to that, which would have taken all handguns away from the populace in the United States. And Bush was kind of moving that way, but then he stopped it. Obama picked it up. He actually delivered the weapons through, like the attorney said, so that they had the weapons in the Mexican cartel, and so they could use them against their own factions over there and against the government. Then they turn it also against whoever they got in the way. And they
Wouldn't you consider this a felony crime?
It is a felony. It'd be high treason to kill your own people. It would, just like the border crossings, to sue your own country and allow other countries to sue is just not acceptable.
So this Time magazine, April 23, 2012, on the front pages, or front page, President Obama with his arms around President Clinton and President George Bush. The secret society of the presidents. I guess what they do is secret. Attorney Pigeon?
If you're speaking about President Bush's secret membership in Skull and Bones, I mean, I guess there are some secret things that go on. Clearly, there are national security issues that are secret. However, is the intimation from this article such that they're in an additional secret society, a cabal that is meeting worldwide for purposes of orchestrating events that are supranational? And what I mean by that is, here's where we have a fundamental corruption, Dr. Hansen. When you have people who take an oath to obey and defend and protect the Constitution of the United States, but their fundamental loyalty is to internationalism or the United Nations or globalism or a globalist cabal, they've misrepresented themselves. They're liars, they're oath breakers, and they should be impeached and removed from office for doing that. That's what the real fundamental corruption is. Now, I don't know what secret society the magazine is referring to, that they maybe exist, maybe it's the Bilderbergers, maybe it's some other group, I don't know. But I can tell you that the operations, there is a sub rosa agenda that is underway in the United States. There was a great deal of discussion about the creation of a North American Union, disintegrating the borders between the United States and Mexico and the United States and Canada, and building superhighways to interconnect commerce. Those highways are under construction, even as we speak.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you must understand, we're not racist. I just showed you a picture of 3 presidents arm in arm, 2 white, 1 black. I could care less if you're purple. If you're committing treason against the people of the United States by taking an oath, but yet going deliberately against that oath to protect the people of the United States, put us under the sovereignty of the United States, under the laws of the United States, instead push us to international law under the United Nations and New World Order, you're committing treason. I don't care what color of skin. We must wake up and understand we're in a battle for the survival of our freedom as Christians in the United States. It's all described and warned about in the Bible, especially the book of Revelation, also Daniel. We're in trouble. If the church doesn't rise up, I believe this will be the last election, if we have it. Some people don't believe it'll even go on. But the last election where we can call ourselves a republic, I believe we'll go past the point of no return, and I believe Christians will be persecuted. Attorney Pigeon?
Well, the persecution began really under Janet Napolitano at the Homeland Security, who defined Christians as being terrorists. While you are correct, they totally ignore those who have executed terrorism against this country. For instance, Nidal Hassan, who was the shooter at Fort Hood, screaming Allah Akbar when he shot 34 people on a military base. He was part of President Obama's Homeland Security transition team before he did that shooting. Do you know that he still remains unconvicted? He has not yet been tried.
And he was a major.
He was a major at Fort Hood and shot his own troops.
And a psychiatrist.
That's correct.
But primarily a Muslim.
Well, his loyalty was to Islam, which is the case with most Islamists. This is why the doctrine is so extreme, and this is what is so detrimental about the practice of Sharia in the nation. When you introduce Sharia, it's not a religion. This is a constitution. This is a body of law. It is a warring doctrine that once it is introduced into the nation, acts as a tool of overthrow against things American. This is what most Americans don't understand. We should be clinging like fingernails down the face of a cliff to those things that are American. We have to hold to those. Anything you can think of that's an American, you want to cling to that ideology because we're losing it fast and furiously, if you will. The goal is to impose Sharia. You know, many people of your viewers, I'm sure, saw the video of the Christian group being stoned in Dearborn, Michigan at the fair.
Yes.
Chunks of concrete being thrown at them. And the police wanted to arrest the Christians, not the Muslims who were stoning them. In Dearborn, Michigan, I personally received a questionnaire as part of my campaign for Attorney General from the Council on American Islamic Relations asking me as a candidate, would I support Sharia law being used in a courtroom if both of the parties consented? There is a push underway in Washington State right now to allow Sharia to be practiced in Washington courtrooms. That's going on right now. You know that Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano may be the faceplate, but the number 2 man in charge is Jack Brennan, who is a Muslim, converted to Islam in Saudi Arabia, refers to Jerusalem as Al-Quds. The number 3 man is Ali Khan, the top defense agent for CARE out of LA, who is a Hafiz. He can give the entire Quran in Arabic from memory. Most of Homeland Security is now Islamic. Now, this is not to defame the religion. I'm just telling you what's happening politically. What's happening politically is the Islamization of the United States, and it's being orchestrated from the Executive Office of the United States, a man whose fundamental loyalty is to Islam, not to the New World Order, not to the Trilateral Commission, and most definitely not to the United States.
Although we must understand the New World Order backed him and helped him get into power.
As long as they have access to the vaults.
So we need to understand in America how dangerous this situation is. Not only is Islam behind him, but so is the New World Order. Because they want to destroy the Republic of America, which these articles itself attest to how they hate Christians, you and I. Because we are the only ones that stand in their way for them to take over the Republic of America.
That's correct, and that's why this business of bringing Mohammed Morsi into the United States, this Muslim Brotherhood leader of Egypt, the intended recipient, by the way, of the overthrow of Mubarak, and the overthrow of Mubarak was, in fact, orchestrated by the State Department of the United States. It's a well-known fact. It began in April of 2009 with the intention of putting Muslim Brotherhood people in charge in Egypt. The same impetus is going on right now in Syria, where we are employing al-Qaeda agents to take down Assad. We have Muslim Brotherhood operatives working in Jordan, working in Yemen, working in Bahrain. They were working for a while in Saudi Arabia. They're working in Somalia. They were working in Tunisia, Morocco, Libya, the Sudan, and of course Egypt. You notice that none of them are working in Turkey.
Captain NAZARIO, or I could say Professor NAZARIO. Again, 30 years in law enforcement, attending the National FBI Academy, trained in terrorism, now a professor at a university. America's most biblically hostile U.S. president. They're talking about President Obama. Do you agree with that?
Yes, and you have to judge a person by his works. When
So explain
Obama,
it.
when Obama gave a speech at a university, it was a Christian university, had the crosses taken down or covered up. When Obama went to Egypt, which we have to remember, where was one of the first places he went and gave his first speech as a president, was in Egypt.
Where he said, if I understand correctly, it's that by the year 2016, America would be Islamic. Is that correct?
Islamic, right. And he also spoke in Arabic, and he says, I am Arabic. And I think we talked about that in the last.
Yeah, he said, I am one of you.
We also have to look at what he's doing, who he surrounds himself with. And his whole organization is geared towards disarming this country, putting us in a financial state, taking down our defenses, not protecting our borders, which in itself is an invasion that's coming across our borders. Some people call it illegal immigration. I call it an invasion of people coming into this country to take it over. Al-Qaeda works with the Mexican mafia and the cartel in Mexico. There's a lot of interchange between drugs, monies, how the cells are set up, how the organizations are set up. And that's all geared towards keeping the top people unknown.
So Al-Qaeda is also involved in Mexico in this gun running.
Yes.
Wow.
And it has to do with a lot of the violence. Remember that terrorism's whole premise is to create terrorism so people will be afraid of them.
Now,
And people will convert.
aren't they finding people with their heads cut off?
Finding when their heads cut off, I have a video of, they go much further than that, where they're actually killing a person, taking him out into the desert, cutting his body up so the vultures will eat him. Then they come back after the vultures have cleaned the body of all the tissue, grind up the bones, put more feed in it so the vultures and eagles will then eat the rest of the body and it will be disposed of so it can't be located again. The mafia in Chicago used to take bodies, they'd kill them and dump them in pig pens so that the pigs would consume the whole body and nothing would be left except for the teeth so that people couldn't be identified. We see correlations that when we look at crimes, of how organized crime and terrorism follow similar patterns.
Wow. Wow.
Media, manipulation of the media. Terrorism uses manipulation of the media just the same way that our politicians manipulate the media to get their points across and make people believe whenever they're handing you something, they're handing you literally putting their hand out to hand you something. They know how to manipulate the media. They know what to say. They know how to phrase things. Terrorism does the same thing. They're not going to get good press. And in one of the books I use in my classes is Terrorism in Homeland Security. It talks about the media and how terrorism uses the media. And they know they're not going to get good press, but they know they're going to get converts. And what they're looking for is getting converts. You were talking in the last program, I believe, about the $30 million going to Arabic schools that Obama gave to the schools to help them. There's a saying that, I can't remember who it was that said it, but he says, give me a child until they're 11 or 12 years old and I'll turn them into what I want. Hitler, if you recall in history, took the children from the parents and put them in the schools. He took the churches away, he took the crosses away, he took them out of the pulpit, he put his picture up. Who are we seeing in terrorism? What are they doing?
And that's what the Muslims do. They brainwash the children, where even the children, through their cartoons, want to be suicide bombers.
Yes.
To hate the Jews, hate the Christians.
Yes, they dehumanize. Serial killers, when we're doing profiling on serial killers or doing investigations on serial killers, we find that they want to dehumanize people. Our country's dehumanizing people by abortions. It's terrorists dehumanize people by the Quran, telling them that they're monkeys, that they're infidels. They become non-humans. If they're not humans, then you can dispose of them.
Political corruption. We got only about 1 minute, Attorney Pigeon, but I'll tell you, I'm reading articles that there was murder for the nomination of the President of the United States, that actually people died and some delegates were hijacked. Explain.
Well, what you see in the process of both parties is you see a substantial push to manipulate the delegates as they come out of the caucuses and head towards the convention. The DNC operation in 2008 was totally fraudulent. Mr. Obama was never eligible to hold the presidency. By his own admission, he's never been a natural-born citizen, and he has failed to document that he's ever even proven that he's an American citizen, ever. Sheriff Joe Arpaio has just recently held a national press conference calling his presidency a national security threat.
20 seconds.
The reality is...
Did people die?
Yes, people died. People died, and it was a superdelegate out of Arkansas that was shot and killed, that once that delegate died, the shooter himself was also shot dead, and another superdelegate was found brain dead, all in sufficient time to make sure that the Michigan and Florida delegates went to Obama instead of Hillary, who they actually voted for.
So then Hillary would have been the presidential nomination.
That's correct.
So it appears that it was hijacked, the last Democratic nomination.
That's correct. It was hijacked, as were many, there was so many false votes and voter fraud throughout the country. We expect to see massive voter fraud at this upcoming election in November.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're in serious, serious trouble. These aren't racist. We've brought out 3 presidents, 2 white, 1 black. Let me tell you, we are Christians. If you love America, if you love Jesus Christ, you must not be a racist. God help you, God help me, God help America. We need as much money as you can give us. We need to put this on national television. God bless you.
The Word of God is serious. Can you say amen? You don't play with it. You don't mock it. You don't reject it. You don't manipulate it. You obey it.
Do you enjoy my warning television program? If you do, I need your help. Judgment is escalating. The cup of iniquity is becoming full for the United States of America. The science of judgment is sweeping the world. Every nation is being judged. The New World Order, Islam and a 12th Imam, the Mahdi, World War III, the Mark of the Beast, the Plagues of God, over 2 billion people dying, Armageddon, and the return of Jesus Christ. Please, won't you help me sound the alarm? Partner with me. Even a one-time gift would help. Telephone now, 360-629-5248. That's 360-629-5248. 360-629-5248. Thank you and shalom.